The New York Giants set a franchise record on Sunday in their 21-15 win over the Cleveland Browns. What's going on? Nick Falato here to go through some of the unique methods utilized by Giants defensive coordinator Shane Bowen to play man coverage, cover one, with varying modes of pressuring the quarterback through twists, extra bodies, and tempered rushes to prevent the escape of the quarterback. The Giants had 36 pressures on Sunday. That is the franchise record, according to Pro Football Focus. Very impressive. Now, to be fair, the Browns were pressured 40 times in week one against the Dallas Cowboys. Cleveland seems to be the common denominator, but praise shall still be ushered onto the Giants for their game plan and ability to shut down the Browns on the road. Here are 6 of the Giants' sacks, 5 being in cover one, plus a bonus play at the end. Let's get into the film.
The Giants surrendered a 24-yard touchdown pass after the Eric Gray fumble, and this was the subsequent drive by the Browns offense, a 3rd and 7 where Dexter Lawrence gets a sack. I want you to look at the defense and pay attention. The man tell is identified by the Browns pre-snap on the Amari Cooper motion from a 3-by-1 to a 2-by-2 set with Jordan Akins at the top of the screen. Jason Pinnock follows Amari Cooper. Typically when that happens, it means Jason Pinnock is the covering defender on Amari Cooper, but that is not what Shane Bowen throws at the Browns. Shane Bowen throws a curveball at the Browns. As Pinnock gets to the outside of Kayvon Thibodeaux, he loops around Kayvon Thibodeaux, and the Giants are going to have this 3 versus 3 to the boundary side on the offensive line. KT is going to loop inside of Dexter Lawrence. Dexter Lawrence is going to occupy the guard and the tackle, and then Jason Pinnock is going to bend the edge. And the Browns offensive line struggle to account for all 3 of the rushers, even though the math is even, and that's because of the movement. Also, Jason Pinnock was not considered to be in this rush, and it fools the guard, as we'll see on the end zone angle. But before we get to the end zone angle, I want everybody to look at Dane Belton. So typically, one would imagine Jason Pinnock, if he's going to blitz here, and everyone thought Jason Pinnock was going to be on Amari Cooper because of the pre-snap motion, identifying that. That's the tell. Dane Belton does not assume Amari Cooper. It is actually Tyler Nubin who takes Amari Cooper all the way at the top of the screen, standing on that weird elf-looking thing with the football. Tyler Nubin is going to assume the responsibility of the inside wide receiver. If Amari Cooper went inside, he would go with Amari Cooper, but Jordan Akins goes inside, so Tyler Nubin goes down on that inner receiver as Jason Pinnock blitzes, and then Dane Belton takes the center field role in this cover one. So this is something we saw from Wink Martindale. Double A gap mug looks where the Giants go into a single high from one of the players who were in the double A gap look. Now, this is not a double A gap look, but Dane Belton is in a typical Mike position, right? He's in a typical linebacker position. He is going to assume that deep center field responsibility. Nubin is going to clamp down on the 2. And by the time DeShaun Watson understands what the hell is going on, he's getting hit by Dexter Lawrence. There's really nowhere for him to go with the football. I don't think the Browns expected this much man coverage. I didn't expect this much man coverage. It was refreshing to see because it deviates from the identity of what Shane Bowen has been as a defensive coordinator. And it worked because it threw the Browns off. And you can see this really be elucidated right here. Jason Pinnock goes with Amari Cooper. Everyone thinks Pinnock is on Amari Cooper. Pinnock goes on the blitz. You're going to see the guard pass Dexter Lawrence off to Jedrick Wills. And he sees Kayvon Thibodeaux on the twist. He thinks this is just a TE, tackle end twist, something you see all the time in the NFL. He has no idea that Jason Pinnock is in this count as well. So when he passes Dexter Lawrence to Wills, Wills has to make a decision to pick up the free rusher in Jason Pinnock because nobody accounted for Jason Pinnock. So Jason Pinnock ends up getting hit by Wills, but then no one is on Dexter Lawrence because the guard came off Dexter Lawrence because he wasn't even thinking that Jason Pinnock was in the count. So this is just good scheme, manipulated the Browns' protection, ended up in a sack and forced a punt. Now we're going to have a 2nd and 7 towards the end of the first quarter. Again, cover one, and the Giants are going to get inside through pressure, through blitz. It's another thing Shane Bowen did often in this game. He blitzed on 57% of DeShaun Watson's dropbacks. And DeShaun Watson was not good against the blitz. Finished with, I think, like 8 completions. And the Giants used their linebackers. They sent the house. Pre-snap, it does look like cover one. You have the stack to the field side, one on the line of scrimmage, one off the line of scrimmage. The Giants do a good job avoiding the releases of the inner wide receivers after the routes are distributed. You can see Tyler Nubin flow over the top of the release. You have 2 players in press, something we rarely saw against Washington. And then the middle of the field closed safety. The Giants are just stuck to their assignments. And the protection just breaks down for DeShaun Watson because the Giants are all over the protection. And you're going to see that here. You're going to have both linebackers come, almost like a cross dog type of blitz around Dexter Lawrence. Dexter Lawrence is that one shade to the direction of where the linebackers are going to be penetrating. So you have 77 and 79 to that field side with Azeez Ojulari out wide. Dexter Lawrence as the one he is going to occupy. Even though he's releasing to the boundary side, he is going to occupy the center. So you're going to bring Micah McFadden and Bobby Okereke right at Wyatt Teller, number 77. And it's on D'Onta Foreman to pick one of those guys up after it's a quick little play action. And you could see Teller sees both of these linebackers. It's a 2v1 until Foreman can get there. He takes Bobby Okereke, throws him off balance, and then McFadden gets picked up by 27, but 97 cracks into the pocket, and DeShaun Watson ends up crumbling to the ground. And it's a sack for Micah McFadden and Azeez Ojulari. But I love the alignment here because Brian Burns isn't on the field. You have Rakeem Nunez-Roches. He's going to be the 4 technique over Jedrick Wills, and you have Kayvon Thibodeaux out wide. The tight end is going to chip Kayvon Thibodeaux because Jedrick Wills has to deal with the Rakeem Nunez-Roches. Now, Rakeem Nunez-Roches runs directly at number 75, Joel Bitonio. So with Rakeem Nunez-Roches as a 4 technique occupying Joel Bitonio, the Giants flooding the right side of the offensive line of scrimmage with both of their linebackers and Azeez Ojulari, that's going to leave Dexter Lawrence with 55. And Foreman has to pick up one of those linebackers. So this is a well-executed 6-man pressure where the Giants are able to flood the right side of the offensive protection with the center being eliminated by the presence of Dexter Lawrence. So essentially, you get I would say a 2.5 if you want to count D'Onta Foreman as a half because he's late into the protection against 3. So it's a half-man advantage for the New York Giants as I just pull math out of my rear end. But it ends up working out, and you can see the center just grabs Dexter Lawrence. The center wants to push Dexter Lawrence into 75, but Rakeem Nunez-Roches runs into 75 deliberately. So that gives Dexter Lawrence, that gives Shane Bowen, that gives his defense an advantage mathematically because 71 is just waiting for Kayvon Thibodeaux, and Kayvon Thibodeaux is getting chipped by Jordan Akins. So 71 isn't blocking anybody until Kayvon Thibodeaux releases from that tight end. And by that point, Dexter Lawrence is getting held like crazy by this end. I don't know how that's not called. His entire shoulders are facing the numbers. Usually when that happens, it happened like 2 or 3 times in this game, it's always a flag. But the Giants were getting after DeShaun Watson so bad that it didn't even really freaking matter. But this is a well-executed linebacker twist, and they pick it up. It's just the left side of the line of scrimmage gets manipulated because of the presence of Dexter Lawrence again, man. And when you can align Dexter Lawrence as a 1 shade towards Azeez Ojulari's side, you're going to have more eyeballs on the interior towards Dexter Lawrence so you can scheme these twists and you can scheme linebacker blitzes and pressures towards that Azeez Ojulari side because Azeez Ojulari right now as the 3rd rusher is not going to command too much attention, even though he had a really good game and he helps out with this sack. So now we're going to have a 3rd and 15. This is right before the end of the first quarter. See man coverage again. The Giants are going to run a pirate stunt up front. We'll go through that on the end zone angle, but it's basically they're going to loop an edge rusher around 2 slanting defensive linemen to the inside. You can see it from this angle. And I love the coverage. Just simple, man. Everybody's accounted for. There's no mistakes. You could see how the Giants were willing to do this against the Browns. You're not going to get away with this against a lot of quarterbacks, but DeShaun Watson is he's on the struggle bus right now. This looks like cover 4, possibly. This looks like some sort of too high. It could be 2-man, but that safety is going to, the safety to the boundary, so the safety at your top of your screen, he is going to take Jerome Ford. You can see him fly down, go over top of Amari Cooper. It's just DeShaun Watson doesn't have answers to find that. But this is just simple cover 1 at that point. Everybody's accounted for, and Elijah Chapman gets his first career sack. And I love to see that for the kid. Now you're going to see exactly what happens. It's Bobby Okereke, who is the looper. He is going to be in a 2-point stance, 1 yard off the line of scrimmage, basically on the line of scrimmage as a 4 tech over Jedrick Wills. And both Dexter Lawrence and Elijah Chapman are just going to penetrate, and Okereke is going to go right around. 77 has to pick up Okereke. You have 2 wide rushers with Brian Burns and Kayvon Thibodeaux. Both of them are being chipped in this empty formation by the running back and the tight end. So you have a 3-man rush against basically 5 Browns offensive linemen. But both of those tackles have to look out for Kayvon Thibodeaux and Brian Burns. And Chapman is able to get his hands on 55, shove 55 into Dexter Lawrence and basically pry himself into the pocket And 77 has to get off of Chapman and take Okereke. So in doing that, 55 never really assumes Elijah Chapman, and Chapman's able to get this sack. And one of the reasons why 55 doesn't assume Elijah Chapman with Dexter Lawrence as the nose here is because he has to worry about freaking Dexter Lawrence. He has to pass Dexter Lawrence over into 75, and that is a huge assignment to account for. So Chapman ends up being this lost guy. The Browns did not do a good job in protection with dealing with twists and passing them off. And one of the reasons for that is because there were so many exotic twists and pressures from Shane Bowen, but it was also just the presence of Dexter Lawrence being an absolute game wrecker for the Browns. Here we're going to have another cover one play. This is 2nd and 10 early in the first quarter. It was great to see the Giants come out again and just dial up the pressure. And you can see DeShaun Watson tries to escape. I'm imagining that was a point of emphasis for the Browns during halftime was use your legs. They're running a lot of man coverage, but the Giants accounted for that by having these players lag back a little bit. Dexter Lawrence did it in this game when he wasn't penetrating. He would just stand his guy up and get his eyes on DeShaun Watson, kind of act like a quarterback spy. And you're going to see Bobby Okereke do that here. And it seems to me like Bobby Okereke is green dog blitzing. He sees Jerome Ford. Jerome Ford is his assignment in man coverage, and he sees Jerome Ford go right in for pass protection on Isaiah Simmons. So now Bobby Okereke doesn't have to worry too much about Jerome Ford. He can either blitz or he could do exactly what he did. He's a very smart football player, Bobby Okereke. So he just kind of stays at the line of scrimmage and gets his eyes on DeShaun Watson. And once DeShaun Watson starts to scramble, he closes it on him and gets this sack along with Raheem Nunez-Roches. And you can see the twisting up front. Again, Dexter Lawrence is going to loop around Raheem Nunez-Roches. And what the Giants wanted to happen, their initial desire on this play would be Dexter Lawrence at that one shade to the left side of your screen. 75 would pay attention to him, and then that would allow Isaiah Simmons to penetrate right through the B gap. But you can see how Joel Bitonio doesn't go too far with Dexter Lawrence, gets his eyes on Bobby Okereke, and Jerome Ford diagnoses this. This is an initial 8-man protection by the Browns. You can see all the bodies, all the white jerseys just in there, and the Giants have that contingency plan to ensure that he doesn't leave. And you can also see, man, Tyler Nubin just running down. And I'm wondering if Tyler Nubin, what his assignment was, if Tyler Nubin's assignment coming from that too high pre-snap spot was Cedric Tillman. And he runs down and you see Cedric Tillman stays in protection a little bit too long. And by that point, DeShaun Watson's already vacating. That's allowing the Giants to be flexible for their defenders. They don't have these defined roles. If somebody is staying in protection too long and you get your eyes on the quarterback and the quarterback looks panicked, just go and add the pressure or be that contingency just in case he runs. Now, I'm uncertain about that, but it looks like that could be the case. Giants get the sack. So now this is the sack that was not cover one, but if you look pre-snap on this 4th and 1, this looks like it could be cover one. The Giants are pressed up on the line of scrimmage. You have 7 guys on the line of scrimmage looking like a freaking Wink Martindale type defense, at least in the box there. And then everybody else is off by about 6 yards plus with one safety in the middle of the field. But this is going to be quarters. This is not going to be cover one. The Giants send pressure and they twist and they loop, and Jason Pinnock is able to get home along with, I believe, Azeez Ojulari. We'll see that on the end zone angle. But I want to pay attention to Bobby Okereke and Brian Burns. Both of those guys are going to drop off, and they're going to be the underneath defenders in this quarters type of concept. And their goal is to not allow any receivers over the middle of the field. Both of them are going to come off the line of scrimmage, and they're going to wall off these number 2 receivers. You can see Jordan Akins is open. Bobby Okereke is going to work towards that, and he's going to present his numbers, his chest, towards Jordan Akins. Brian Burns is going to do the same thing to Elijah Moore. When you're executing a wall technique as an inner defender, your goal is to not allow an inside breaking receiver to cross your face. You want to either get hands on if you're within 5 yards, force them to reroute, or force them to go around you, a defender that's over the top, depending on whatever route that wide receiver is working on. But you can see right here, if you look at Elijah Moore, he has Brian Burns to his inside. He has a safety over the top. If DeShaun Watson was able to diagnose this, but he saw so much cover one earlier in the game, if he was able to diagnose this, he would have just found Jordan Akins to the outside shoulder. And Jordan Akins has a lot of space with a receiver who could have blocked. And if Akins could have outran Bobby Okereke, best of luck, there's space there. But he's expecting man coverage. And the defender who was initially over Jordan Akins comes on the blitz. Again, Shane Bowen absolutely manipulated and harassed DeShaun Watson and this protection and just brought the heat, man. It was so damn hot in Cleveland. There was so much heat there. And Jason Pinnock, who has 3 sacks on the season, pretty wild, ends up getting home here. He's over Jordan Akins. He slips around, Smart move by Kayvon Thibodeau. This is by design to force Jedrick Wills to engage him before running towards the middle. And this is supposed to be a twist type of play from the Giants. Kayvon Thibodeau basically just matches DeShaun Watson and forces DeShaun Watson back to the outside, and Pinnock's able to use his long arms and his athletic ability to drag him to the deck. There are answers for the Browns. It's just, can they be seen pre-snap? And the changeup that Shane Bowen kept throwing at them, and the curveball and the screwball, even the fastballs that he threw, just, hey, we're going to run cover one and we're going to bring 5. Browns couldn't really do anything against it. So this is actually the 4th and 1 play, not the last play. So this is in 3rd and 7. Please disregard that on the bottom. And this is a play where we see Dexter Lawrence execute a similar technique that Bobby Okereke executed 2 plays ago. And this is a huge play in the game. This is one of the last plays. It's a 4th and 1 on the second to last drive that the Browns have, trying to score a touchdown and win this football game. And if we watch it from the non-end zone angle, just the field angle, the all 22 angle, we see everybody. You're going to get cover 1 across the board again. Tyler Nubin actually gets picked. Jordan Akins is open in the flat. DeShaun Watson does not see it. He wants to go to the slant flat. He wants to go to the slant to Jerry Jeudy. Jerry Jeudy gets contacted by Tyler Nubin. Incidentally, the corner is in good coverage, and you have Jason Pinnock flying down from his center field spot. He's watching DeShaun Watson. DeShaun Watson telegraphs it. You can see there's really nothing going on at the bottom of the screen. You just have a bubble. I didn't feel like the play calling was all that great in this game, and I'm a big fan of Kevin Stefanski from everything that I've seen when he was a Minnesota offensive coordinator and from what I've witnessed over the last couple of years in Cleveland. But I did not think he did DeShaun Watson any favors in this game, and Watson himself looked horrendous, but Stefanski is well aware of that at this point. This is a 4th and 1 play. Doesn't throw the bubble, wants to go to the slant flat, was not there, panicked, and this is where Dexter Lawrence comes up and makes a huge play to force a turnover on downs. Getting cover 1 on the back end. Giants send Bobby Okereke. And Dexter Lawrence, he's not trying necessarily to pressure because he's defending the run initially. You can see him lock out 53, set, and he puts his ass right in that play side A gap where Jerome Ford would be running if this was a running play. Micah McFadden in position as well to handle the backside A gap. The run fits from the Giants. We could do a whole video on that. The run fits from the Giants in this game, even though the Browns didn't have too much opportunity to run the football, they were on point. There was not a lot of space, which was the complete opposite from what we saw against Washington. A lot of this game plan was the complete opposite of what we saw against Washington. But Watson looks to his right after going through the RPO. Sees nothing's there. And you can see Lawrence just waiting. And he sees DeShaun Watson separate. He comes off, makes this sack at the line of scrimmage, or this tackle at the line of scrimmage, whatever it's accounted for. According to ESPN, it is a sack. Yeah, it is. This was his second sack in the game. And then turnover on downs. You see Brian Burns almost get in as well. It's from deep cover 1. This is more of just, I'm not going to get the cover 1 in an exotic way, like we saw on the first play with Dane Belton, or some of the other plays where it's too high pre-snap and Tyler Nubin is assuming the number 2 wide receiver. This is, look, we are going to line up across from you. We are going to run cover 1. And we are going to bring 5. And McFadden presses the line of scrimmage aggressively. Nothing really breaking over the middle of the field. Just not really a great play call on 4th and 1. There was a lot of that in this game. The Giants are still able to get this sack on 4th and 1. And unfortunately, they missed a field goal on the ensuing drive. But then the Browns turn the football over on downs again. And the Giants get the win. Now I want to go over one offensive play. This is the surprise play I was referencing before. An offensive play by the New York Giants. One of the better plays I've seen from Daniel Jones in a while in a very condensed area. This is the second touchdown pass to Malik Nabers with 15 seconds left in the first half. Look, it was a 3-by-1 set, condensed, tight. Wan'Dale Robinson is going to motion to a 2-by-2 set to the boundary side. And on motioning, the safety switch. So that safety who was at the top of the screen to the boundary side, the short side of the field, he just followed Wan'Dale Robinson over there. And we're really going to see this from the end zone angle, but this is a fantastic play by Daniel Jones to keep the throwing window open for Malik Nabers to make this play. Malik Nabers, he's sensational. He's making Daniel Jones look like the best version of Daniel Jones. And this offensive line is also doing that. And you could see Daniel Jones, the motion, you see 12 match him. Daniel Jones catches this football. His eyes go directly to Wan'Dale Robinson and that outside cornerback. So his eyes go to Wan'Dale Robinson and they go to the outside cornerback. And that's deliberate. And you're going to watch his foot on the end zone copy. And I want you to pay attention to number 6, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, because he is the defender to manipulate. And Daniel Jones needs to use his eyes to keep his throwing window open because Owusu-Koramoah pre-snap is right by that hash. That's where the football is going. You need that to be open. And that step right there by Daniel Jones, you see his eyes are still on Wan'Dale Robinson. He knows the dig is coming right behind Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. And then that little step, that front foot step, that plant, the widening of the feet, acting as if he's throwing the football towards Wan'Dale Robinson, throwing the football outside the numbers to the boundary side. That gets Owusu-Koramoah to move, and then Daniel Jones delivers the football right through the throwing window. And this is so tight because Theo Johnson's route is milliseconds away from closing this throwing window. And Jones is able to get his eyes, his hips, his feet, and his shoulders oriented to Malik Nabers and puts the football right through that throwing one. That is a beautiful play by Daniel Jones, a beautiful catch, obviously, by Malik Nabers, and it's well-timed, well-executed, and I absolutely love to see it when a quarterback is able to use his eyes to influence defenders into certain directions. That's when you unlock another level of quarterbacking, and it's good that we're starting to see that right now early in the 2024 season. Not that we haven't seen it before, but that was an exceptional play in a high leverage situation in a tight area on the field. All righty, everybody. I'm Nick Falato. I hope you guys enjoyed me going over a bunch of the exotic pressure blitzes with cover one man looks on the back end. Something, again, it's a little bit different from Shane Bowen, but look, Shane Bowen was chastised after week 1 for not adjusting accordingly to what Cliff Kingsbury was doing. And he came out in this game plan. He identified one of the biggest issues with the Browns was the injured offensive line and DeShaun Watson being the current version of DeShaun Watson. And he attacked it relentlessly and it was able to set a damn record for the New York Giants. Most pressures since Pro Football Focus has started counting pressures. And that was like 2006. This is more pressures than the Usi Umenyiora game, the 6-sack game where Usi Umenyiora had like 17 pressures against the Eagles. They had 35 that day as a team. In this game, they had 36. So great win by the New York Giants. They have a quick turnaround at home against the Dallas Cowboys. Let's see if they can get it done. For Big Blue View, I'm Nick Falato signing off. Take care of each other and have a lovely day.